welcome to Let's Go episode number next. I'm done guessing. Anyway, today I have Mr. Daniel Gilly. He is our operating partner at Lilly Roofing. Unfortunately, Alivia couldn't be here with us today. Her mother is health is we're praying for her. Put it that way.
Yeah.
So if you do pray, whatever it is you believe in, we'd really appreciate it. I know Olivia would appreciate it. Send a prayer up, send some good vibes, because we certainly hope that Miss Ann does much better.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, Daniel, tell us a little bit. Well, you've actually done a podcast whenever I was out of town. You did it with Alivia. Today was supposed to be the group session.
Yeah.
Last time y'all spoke, did y'all do like a little bio on you?
So we covered pretty much, I guess, the short version of where I come from, how I kind of got started in construction, more or less what I do now here at the company, like what my role is. And then more or less how you guys found me, So we covered a little bit about that. I don't think we really went too much into things. It was kind of like a bio interview, if you will. So
yeah. Would you mind, because we don't script any of this for the most part. We may go like, hey, like here's some topics we're interested in for the week, and then we just kind of ad lib. Dan, would you mind talking about a little bit about what you were doing before Lilly Roofing? And let's talk about Frontier a little bit. Is that good with you?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So Daniel owned a very successful exterior home construction mainly roofing company, but it was called Frontier Home Exterior.
I would say successful. So that's the one thing. So like quick growing company, had a ton of revenue and cash flow. And at the time I thought it was successful. Mm-hmm. So it's very different now.
Well, you had
hindsight.
You had the look of success. You were driving, or you were living in a great neighborhood.
Great cars,
wearing nice clothes, driving nice cars. So tell me a little bit about that.
Mm-hmm. So more or less, at the time I felt success. Okay. I think as we grow as entrepreneurs, as professionals, things like that, we kind of adopt new ideology, I guess, on what success looks like, what the success not only of us financially and things like that, but what the success of a team looks like. And for me at Frontier, I didn't really have that. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, Frontier, like I said, quick growing. We had a nice brick and mortar location, had a really good team, really talented team. But the administrative part, the office personnel and things like that wasn't to where we could really grow it. So overnight we did about $2 million in revenue, year one.
That's ridiculous.
You're right. Yeah. But 2020 COVID year. So obviously you got to pad your numbers a little bit.
Yeah.
I ultimately grew the company to where I thought overnight I would never have been in a million years. But I missed the whole who's your who part. Right. Mm-hmm. And we talk about that a lot and we kind of cover those topics. But I didn't really have my who's in place. I had a phenomenal sales team, probably just as talented, if not more talented at their level where they were at when they come in than my sales team now.
Yeah.
Definitely not as much potential. Our sales team now has the most potential I think I've ever worked in an organization with. But yeah, so we more or less started the company, grew it really quickly, and I started realizing really quick, like, hey, I'm taking away from my recruiting. I'm taking away for having to do the taxes, the payroll, and all that. I was doing all that myself.
Yeah.
Day one walking in THLT, we were kind of working, coaching up. Me and Jake was working together a lot at the time, getting this business set up. That's when I realized I was like, oh my God, my success was not where I thought it was because of my people.
Yeah. So did you notice that when y'all asked me to do something, I was like, sure, they're going to do that for you.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to do this? They're going to do that. And it's all about the who, because it's, most people don't realize this about a lot of stuff in the company, but my role, like my main thing is to go talk and sell and coach and uplift people. And I don't do a lot of other stuff. Like Jake made a joke the other day, for y'all that don't know, Jake's the other partner in the roofing company. He's my brother. And he's like, I think I want to be a real estate agent. It seems like all Harrison does is like go to dinner and have drinks with people.
Yeah.
I was like, that is kind of my life. It's pretty sweet.
And then honestly, it's constant rolls with punches with you guys. Like working with two brothers, if you've never done it, it's different. It's a different experience, and it kind of opens it up a little bit.
Recommend or 10 out of 10 don't?
Dude, originally I said no. I was like, man, this is going to be rough, working with two brothers.
But it's because you thought you would be the odd man out.
And I did think that, and I raised two kids. So I see them every day sitting there bickering and fighting. I'm like, dude, absolutely not, bro. Like, I'm not going to be in the front seat of this car being like, hey, guys, cut it out.
Yeah, sit in the back seat and like, which you haven't had to do, to be fair. You have a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, there's times, but I feel like it's probably less than if you had three other partners. I haven't been in that situation quite, but I mean, like, just the different mixed personalities. And when you're an entrepreneur, you're constantly like creating and you think your idea is the best. And so when you run it by people, you just expect a lot of yeses. And, with us three, it's not. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, I love that, because it kind of levels me. And if we all thought the same, I mean, like, who needs you?
Correct. Yeah. Now, the reason you get on a team is you go, hey, Daniel, you're really good at this. I'm really good at that. If we put that together, what could we do and how much faster could we do it?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. So you did the exteriors company. You made a change. Came over to Lilly. And now we're actually like we're about to start doing something exciting that none of us, including myself, have ever done. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have all grown companies, central location, and for the most part, I would like to say we maximized our money grabs in those markets. We maximize our opportunities here. There's still room. Obviously, there's always room to grow. But for the most part, we realize that we're reaching kind of a ceiling in Ouachita Parish. And I think that's been kind of a blind spot for me as well. Even growing Frontier, I was like, hey, we hit 2 million revenue and I thought we had done something, but quickly you start realizing, the 2, the 5s, and the 8 million spots, like there's kind of limits that you start kind of reaching.
Yeah, we're a small market, and I'm not like cursing our town or anything, but like if you look at our economy and you look at our town, we're a grade DF economy over here. Yep. And this is something I've learned lessons in the real estate company, to exactly your point. And it's, I spend X amount of dollars to be number 1 market share. Mm-hmm. I could spend a quarter of that and be number 3 market share. What if I went and spent a quarter of that in 5 markets and was number 3 markets and 5 markets at a third of the price?
Exactly.
And that was the realization that we talked about. We went, there's not really any profit left for us in Monroe. And so if we want to make more money, which is the reason we're all in business together, is like, okay, well, we got to do something that none of us have ever done. And so we're all going to learn expansion.
Yeah. Yeah. So extremely daunting. I think I reached out to you like 2 months ago and I was like, man, like,
I'm terrified.
I'm terrified. I was like, this is something I've done before, as far as starting a business, but you don't think of starting a business in year 2 and 3. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what it feels like to me. I'm like, man, this is completely new grounds. A matter of fact, when we started Lilly Roofing, I was kind of in a transition period between like roofing and coaching, and I'd kind of become like more or less I was working with contractors around the area and in Shreveport and Dallas to kind of grow their business, doing some really terrible marketing, not my strong suit, but I was trying to figure it all out. I was trying to make it, baby. That's it. And so I had a game plan in place. And I felt very confident in the game plan. You've had several businesses at this point that you've either been involved in directly or indirectly. And so you somewhat have a game plan in place. You've talked about sales organizations as like your strong suit.
I can open a sales organization and make it top 3 in this market, especially with our brand and everything. So if you gave us an HVAC company, top 3 would be hard in this market because we got some monsters out there.
Absolutely.
I could hit top 5 in 1 year.
Yeah. And I agree with that.
Yeah, and because we have that playbook is written. You've actually helped add to that playbook. I mean, you've been great there. But like between you and Amy and what we've been able to do in the marketing sector, and the amount of money that we've been able to put towards that, we've grown brands that all we have to do is plug and play into our SOPs, which is standard operating procedures for anybody out there, and go, hey, this is the playbook. If you'll just execute this, you're going to take market share and make profit year 1.
Yep.
And I've never failed at that game plan. Ever. Every business that I've touched has done well and been a top 3 to 5 company within 12 months.
Quickly, yes.
Yeah. Now, here's the challenge, and this is my weakness. I told everybody, I said, I am really good at making a year 1 company looking like a year 5 company. But where I struggle is how do I make my year 5 company look like a year 25 company?
Right. Yep.
And that's where I'm at in real estate right now.
Again, it's about the who, though. We talk about the who all the time, but I heard Alex Hermosi. Is that what his name is, Connor? Do you know? Okay. So Alex Promosi, I think he has the Game podcast.
Okay.
All he does is documents his like entrepreneurial journey, like step by step. He's currently in the process of building $1 billion company with acquisitions.com. So follow him, really smart business sense and everything else. But one of the things he kind of preaches is he's like, hiring that person that's better than you. A lot of times strikes our ego and it kind of hurts us a little bit, on the inside.
That's my favorite thing.
Right. Yeah. And I've kind of adopted that ideology now. But again, like looking from that $5 to $25 million company, it's going to be about who's been there before or who's kind of took part or fixed the holes in your company to make it that kind of company,
Yeah.
So for Alex Hormozy, I'm like, dude, yeah, I'm constantly now looking for the next person that can actually promote our business.
Yeah.
The next person that can really scale up our business. Because if they're not leveling up our business, they're actually out of our resume stack now. And that's a big change from what I used to do, because I was like, hey, volume when you're recruiting.
Or just begging anyone to come.
Exactly. You're just like, but it changes the whole culture dynamic.
Yeah. And I do a lot of that. And this is a lot of employers. So if you hire people for a living, it is harder to hire in Monroe. It is. That we do not have a large population. Our talent pool is scarce. It's scarce. It really is. And we tend to, as business owners, just go, hey, they're willing to come.
Yeah.
So let's just hire. Guys, a bad hire will cost you 5 times more than no hire. And I'll tell you this is in my own world. I'll give you an example. I've had people come into the organization, and I'll give you actually a few different scenarios. Somebody comes into the organization. They were a decent person in another market, or not another market, in another sector of sales, but they had some life problems, and they begged to be there with, oh, Harrison, I'll follow you to the ends of the earth. I want to be here. If I'm not going to be here, I'm just going to give up my license. And they had all the red flags. Should not have hired them. But I was like, well, we need people. I need volume. Let's throw it at the wall, see what sticks.
Right.
And so that person didn't sell any real estate. Like, we gave them leads, and they sold a few of our leads. But if the only thing you're doing is selling my leads, then I don't need you. Because I can hire a showing assistant for a quarter of what I pay you.
Right.
And I can take the money home. And so if you're offering no value to the company, and then there becomes a mismatch of expectations, you're not carrying the weight and the load that you're supposed to. It. Our conversations are cordial and nice, and they're coaching, but you're failing.
Yeah.
And when people are failing, it's not just the leader who knows. The employee, the contractor, they know they're failing too. And it automatically creates resentment inside that relationship. And over time, any unsolved resentment over time will turn into toxicity in your company.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And so they leave. That person leaves. They take some of my leads with them. They also, they started calling my agents. They're like, can you believe what Harrison's charging y'all? I went over to this other company and they charge so much less. It's a scam over there. You should tell everybody. And like, everybody at the company knows that there's cheaper companies to go be at.
Yeah.
Except for how many of those people are making 6 figures plus? Because
and what's that company doing with the resources they're saving?
Well,
that they're actually giving out.
That company's P&L is currently in the trash. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. I'm not like, I actually wish well for that business owner. He's a nice guy. But they're not doing well.
Right.
And it's because there's no profit in the company, because he's charging too little.
Yeah. It's not well for not just them. It's not well for their employees.
Correct. Because if you as a business owner do not take in the appropriate amount of money, you cannot offer the appropriate amount of value, support, systems, leads to your people. And so you if you're as someone who's looking for a sales job, it's not just like, well, how much money do they take? It's what do they provide for the amount of money they take? And can I see this growing my business faster and larger than the company that takes nothing? And statistically, I can prove that
it works.
It works. Yeah, that's
shocker.
He was right, because in the absence of value, price is in question. And so if you can show major value over time, people will stay and they will come.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that cost me money, because he not only did he not close any of his own leads, he was only closing mine.
Yeah.
So I'm over here paying out too much for someone who is essentially a showing assistant, and then they take leads after they leave the company, costing me tens of thousands of dollars.
Not to mention the cultural impact they were doing while they were at your company.
And then after they left, because it was a scam, right?
Yeah.
And so that happened. There's a few others like where I should have fired the person. There was somebody who stole. And I called them a little over a year ago. I had a very hard conversation with them. Like, they cried, I cried. And I just said, hey, like, we can throw this under the bridge right now, and we can say we're never going to do this again. or we can just part ways. Which one do you want to do? Because I wanted to keep the person for the numbers, right? And by keeping that person in the company, because I didn't fire them, they created a cancer inside the company and ended up losing another person. Yeah. And so by hiring people who don't belong in your company or not firing people quickly when they don't belong in your company, it will cost you more in the long run.
And I will say this. So you mentioned, it's kind of hiring in this market that affects us. That is 100% true. Well, as we're scaling into Shreveport.
Yeah, we get so let's talk about that. So over here, we put out an ad. Now I am recently, I'm actually getting a lot of people coming to talk to me about wanting to join the team from other brokerages, new agents who are coming in. So we're having a lot more conversations than we used to because we actually made our need known now. We're hyper focused on that. But beforehand, it was because we weren't recruiting and we got very few people coming in to ask if they could join. We're wanting to do all that. But we went into the Shreveport market, which I guess that's the shocker right here. Lilly Roofing's coming to Shreveport. Yay.
Officially next month.
Yeah. And so, but you're putting out ads over there and you called me twice.
Ads. So just post, we're not sponsoring anything over there, just to be clear.
Yeah. We had to pay a penny for it, right?
Right. This is 100%. And here's the difference. We put the same post in this area and we run it and we get it's probably 30 applicants, but it's just people coming through because our economy is so small over here. Shout out to Friday and people like that are actually growing it. But because right now it's so small, we are putting out these posts and we get 30 or 40 people that look like they're interested in this job and they know nothing about what it is we do. Put it out in Shreveport, same exact post. We get probably 15 people that actually apply. We chose to call 7 of them, scheduled 7 interviews, and right off the bat, I'm like, man, I might be looking at 7 new hires. These people not only know what the business is because they did their research, they're sitting here and they're going in with intention and they know what their goals and what their growth plan is personally for what they want, but it's just the quality of candidates because we have so many more jobs over there to choose from. People that apply for you know what they want. So it's just a night and day difference.
Yeah. Well, the population's what, double, triple probably. Yeah. And so the economy over there is much better. That they utilize their river and let casinos in. Maybe we should follow suit. Anyway, but what is it? The average income over there is $20,000 per person higher or something like that.
I haven't even checked it.
It's a staggering number.
Awesome.
Yeah, so you're talking about not only your recruitment pool, but also your clientele pool.
Yep.
The average income, so the people who can go, well, I can't afford a deductible, and there are people over there $1,500. We got that in the account. Let's make a deal.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, all right, so we are currently, as we said, we're moving over to Shreveport. We actually have an office building that we're about to close on.
The 6th of August?
I think so.
Something like that.
I'm not
somewhere at the beginning of August.
Yeah.
We're probably more excited than you because we think about it every day. We're like, hey, when are we opening up?
Yeah. Well, I am excited because Daniel's about to work his tail off, but his income hopefully is going to exponentially increase. Amen.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll make more than minimum wage next year.
Business ownership, guys. It ain't all fun.
It is, bro.
Yeah. And, so business owner. So this is a funny topic for a second. How many people inside the company? So Daniel is an owner of the company.
Yep.
How many people inside the company make more money than you?
Oh man, probably, I would say this year, probably somewhere around 60% mark, I would say.
60% of the company makes more money.
And then when we started talking about buying the property in Bossier, I was like, yep, there it goes. I was in the top 3 for a minute, so there's no doubt.
To be fair, you voted yes.
Dude, but hey, the sales,
again, you know what's on the other side of that.
Exactly. I know what's on I'm playing for the long game.
Yeah.
Also, I know that this opens up because right now we've already been selling in Shreveport market for about a year. This opens up more opportunity for our team. When our team grows, I grow. And again, it's just about reinvesting basically in the company. So
yeah, man, I liken that unto when I was opening up THLT. Most people don't know this. In fact, most people think I make way more money than I do. But I was paying myself in between $40,000 and $60,000 a year for the first 3 to 4 years, and it wasn't until year 5 when I made my first luxury nice purchases when I bought the BMW.
Right.
And that was my first major hey, I have made money kind of thing. But I was so busy, and this is the reason. So Daniel's not broke. He is actively choosing to reinvest profits inside the company. But it's to my point is that if you want to be successful, you've got to have delayed gratification. You cannot treat your bank like a piggy. I mean, your business like a piggy bank.
Yeah.
It is not there to buy luxury vehicles. It is not there to put you in a luxury house. It is there to grow something. It is a living, breathing baby. And if you don't nurture it, take care of it, and invest in it, it's never going to grow properly. And that is why most business owners, in my opinion, fail. It's not because they're not talented. It's not because they're not willing to work their ass off. It's because the lack of money management and the vision for the future financially.
Correct. Yeah. What are you willing to do with your money? So to touch back on Frontier, we were talking about it earlier. One of the failing points in Frontier, more or less, was the fact that I was like, man, I want to hire this person, like I want to get this office manager that can do this, this, and this. And then I start shopping, right? And you're kind of scrolling through the Amazon rather of like candidates. And I'm like, they want $90,000. Oh, they want 120. In the grand scheme of things, wouldn't have mattered. But at the time I was in my infant stage of being an entrepreneur and understanding that role of business and having to invest in people. And I didn't look at it like that. Now, if I had the opportunity, I would invest, probably 80% of my personal salary to get the right people in place because I'm going to triple that.
Yeah.
And at the time, though, I was just terrified of spending money. And so it was kind of to that point because I was like, hey, man, like if I put $80,000 into this person, like what's my business going to do?
Yeah. Well, so if you follow a model, right? This is what your business. Everybody's business should look like this. And it's you have your initial growth right here, and then you hit a plateau. And when you hit that first plateau, it's time to hire your administration staff.
Yep.
And when you hire administration, everybody's like, well, if I hire them, my income's got to go down. I'm like, yeah. But if you hire the right person and you train them correctly, this is what your business is going to look like. It's going to dip for a second. Okay? Because this is hiring and training right here. And then it's going to plateau whenever you give them their job and you get to get it off your plate. And then if you as the business owner are as talented as you say you are and you've leveraged everything that needs to be leveraged off your plate, right here. Now we've maxed out what you can do in your time by staying in your 20 and staying in sales or staying in recruitment or growth or whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing. And this is when we plateau again. And that's when we start to hire salespeople. We start to hire expansion staff and all that stuff, right? Yep. We hire leverage, and then we're going to dip again. And then we're going to hand them their job. And then we're going to be here, and then we're going to do it again. And it's that over and over and over and over again.
In every organization. Like,
absolutely.
You've, again, proven fact, like you're so good at building these sales companies at this point, but it's always just been that. It's just you got to be willing to take that little bit of a loss and just know that it's such a temporary thing.
Yeah.
Because they are going to maximize your company. And if they're not, then you shouldn't be interviewing them. You don't waste your time with them.
Yeah, dude, if they're a D player, now there's proven talent and unproven talent. You're going to get to hire unproven talent for cheaper. But proven talent, you're going to have to pay out the nose for.
Yep.
And so you just have to decide where your budget is and where your company's at. Man, I was on the phone with a 21-year-old kid called me the other day, and they were looking to get qualified for their first house, and they just had no idea. Like, man, I just need guidance. Can you help me? And so I'm on the phone with this kid for like 30 minutes, and it went from him calling me about houses to me going, man, you were really nice. You're really well-spoken, and it sounds like you got a plan for your future. It's like, tell me about what you're thinking. Like, what do you want to do? And he's like, man, I think I want to be in sales and just not really sure how to go about it. I'm at Verizon right now and blah, blah, blah. I was like, you ever thought about real estate? You ever thought about like telesales? You're young. I don't necessarily recommend that younger 20-year-olds get a real estate license because people just don't take them as seriously yet.
Absolutely.
But like you could definitely do telesales and get them hooked up with agents that they will stick around with. Right. And I was like, look, man, you can work for me for 2 years in the telesales part. Let's get you a license. Let me teach you everything I know about real estate. By the time you're 30, you can be a millionaire. And he was like, that sounds really cool. I said, no, you're going to have to work for it. But he's unproven talent, but he checked boxes on that phone call for me. And so he's had an interview with Amy on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, unproven or not, we do learn, and, I've learned this through the interview process, interviewing several, 100 people at this point. And unfortunately, the opposite end of that spectrum, letting go of, not in the roofing industry, but letting go of multiple hundred people when I was in the oil and gas industry. Mm-hmm. So slowly but surely, it's a learning process, and you learn what those boxes are. So like, it's so much easier vetting a talent when you got them on there because they're not proven, but you're like, this guy's got everything I need.
He's got the tangibles.
Yeah, and early on in your career, you can't really see that. So it changes everything once you start slowly to like seeing what the good and the bads are in each organization. Now, obviously, like there's no cookie cutter salesperson. You know, I've seen older guys, especially in our industry where we've got construction and stuff like that. People see an older guy and they're like, oh, he's probably a contractor for, you know, hundreds of years. He might have started last week, you know, but then like to your point, you got a 20-year-old and he knocks on their door. They're like, hey man, like, you know, do you even know about construction?
Yeah,
do you know where permits are? Like,
this is a shingle.
yeah. So yeah, it's funny how we kind of like slowly develop kind of these checklists to kind of build on who our salespeople are.
Yeah, and man, and you're right. There is no cookie cutter model of a salesperson. I can tell you in my own world. So you've got. I'm just going to give you the two most polar opposite successful salespeople.
I think I know who they are, but yeah.
Go ahead. I want to hear it.
I'm assuming Chris Rux is on one
Boom!
side
All
of the
right,
spectrum.
you got number one,
and then Amanda Meza, maybe.
Yeah, dude, the most two opposite people on the planet,
killing it.
But they're both killers.
Yeah, they're
like
absolutely
70 to 80 plus homes a year. I mean, I don't want to talk about their incomes on here, but they make good money.
Absolutely,
they're absolutely crushing it. And but dude, I mean, Chris is just kind of loud and rambunctious and just says what's over on his mind, and you know, that's just Chris. And then you've got Amanda over there who's like the bearer of everyone's cross and like will work 80 plus hours a week and wants to know what your kids' names and your grandma's names are. And then, you know, they just operate their businesses very, very differently. And in fact, I'll tell you, when we used to do these personality tests when we were at called the KPA, personality assessment. And it would do a job fit analysis and say, hey, this is likely what you're good at. Chris, for real estate agent, like I think it said like 0.01, like you are not a fit. And Chris was like,
just walk away.
Yeah, no, that's what Chris said. He's like, do I just need to like go hop off a bridge? And I was like, nah, man. And it was this, and this is a recruitment tactic. This is something I always say. When you find somebody whose personality may not be the best fit for the job, you start to look at their track record and their motivation. And Chuck Roberts, Olivia's brother, because he was one of my mentors coming up in this. He said he was the person I asked the question to. I said, does that mean I don't hire him? He goes, no, Harrison, it's like 10% of the whole thing, 10% of the whole pie. It shows you, personality assessments show you the strengths that the person leans into and the weaknesses that they have. But you have to know how to coach into those weaknesses and play into their strengths. And I was like, okay. And I said, but I mean, how do I do that? And he goes, you lean into their motivation and you lean into their track record. And so specifically, we were talking about Chris, and he said, well, Harrison, he goes, is Chris a winner? I said, I've bartended alongside Chris. Chris has bartended for me when I owned a bar. He was first to get there, last to leave. Definitely, Chris has an attitude every now and then, but that's just who he is.
Right.
Love the guy to death. He's a brother to me. And I said, but, whenever I left Neat, when I sold Neat to DJ, Chris didn't work there yet. Chris was unhappy at 6th Street. And he wasn't really making any money. He was on
old days.
Yeah, he was just unhappy. Well, 6th Street was dying out at that point.
Gotcha.
Needed open. We had taken the clientele. And he, I had talked to Chris, and he's like, man, I'd like to make a change. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, let me go talk to DJ. So I called DJ, and I was like, hey, I have one request before I sign over the paperwork to you. I said, I'd like for you to hire Chris Rux. And DJ was like, man, I like Chris, but like, man, I think we're full. I just don't know if he'll get along with the rest of our bartenders. And I was like, nah, he will, man. I said, look, I'm not going to like not sign if you don't hire him, but I'm asking you respectfully as like a last show of good faith, give Chris a spot.
Yeah. And
so he reluctantly, DJ was like, all right, I'll do it. I was like, all right, thank you. Appreciate it. 6 months later, I'm sitting on a golf course and blowing all my Neat money because, that's how you win in real estate. We can talk about that another session. And I get a call from DJ, and he goes, hey, man, I want to thank you. I said, for what? And he said, for making me hire Chris. He said, I didn't want to hire him. He goes, that was out of respect for you. He said, he's my best bartender. He's got my best shifts, and he is now training all of my new bartenders. And I was like, wow, man, that's awesome. He said, yeah, I just wanted to thank you. You got me to hire him. And so from that point on, like, I knew who Chris was. And so I never really went out at that point. I was pretty much out of the scene, but I would if I'd left dinner, like if they were just open, I'd go in and have a drink with like Chris and Joe and say, hey,
just catch up with people.
Yeah. I'm out before the teeny boppers get there. Like I'd be home by 10, Right. And go have a drink and sit up there and talk to Chris. And I had just started making money in real estate because the first 8 months were bleak. It was rough. And I was like, Chris, I want you to come, And I actually brought up some of my commission checks over there, and I was like, this is what last week looked like for me. And
It's funny, but that's like your entry level days of entrepreneurship and recruiting. You're like, hey, look at my checks. Just
that's all you have at that point, because you don't have anything else.
You don't. Man.
Yeah, you don't know. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I was working my ass off, and I had just started to make real money. And I was like, I need who's. And so Chris came in, and that's the story I told Chuck. And he said, okay, so he wins and he steps up. Okay, I like this. And he's like, and what's his motivation? And I said, Chris wants to make a lot of money. And he's like, well,
it's a good place to be motivated.
I mean, I am. So, I'm money motivated to an extent. And it's not that I actually care about money very much, because as long as my bills are paid and I'm comfortable, I really don't care past that.
Yeah.
But it's a scorecard for me. I like to win.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, money was my why for a long time.
Yeah.
But I learned I mean, this is just entrepreneur, business, sales, doesn't matter what you're going into. If money is your only focus and your only why, at some point you'll look for another opportunity, because you'll be like, oh, that's going to be where my next moneymaker is. I'm going to make more money doing this. And so you become like a mercenary, and you stop kind of being a business like an entrepreneur. You stop being a business entrepreneur. You stop looking at growing your clientele, and you start taking away from what actually makes you money, because we lose focus, right? And so, like, yeah, at some point, I think money does kind of fade to the background, and it's more like legacy and opportunity. You know, what kind of opportunities can I make for other people? So,
yeah, dude, that's one of my favorite things about being an entrepreneur, is being able to go, yes, I am on top of this really big mountain, and then I look behind me and I go, look at all these people I got to bring with me.
Yeah,
dude, that I have people in my organization who are living in $500,000 houses. I have people in my organization who are millionaires today. I have people in my organization who are driving luxury vehicles. I have people in my organization who have broken generational financial curses, where their families weren't able to provide anything for them, and now they're providing great lives and opportunity for their children, opportunities that they never would have had otherwise. Those are the exciting high moments for me as an entrepreneur and business owner.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, dude. Again, opportunities, creating them is probably where my head goes majority of the time now.
Yeah.
When we promoted, I think, 6 people in the last month in our organization, mainly because
everybody got raises.
Yeah, we're getting ready to really scale, and they were all deserving of it. I mean, it's not like we forced these promotions. All of these guys have just been going above and beyond, growing themselves, growing the team, mentoring younger guys. And so,
and they've been faithful to an unproven organization.
Yeah. I mean, just the fact they took a risk, for a majority of all of our guys have families. They all have households. They have to pay bills, and they come in and we're like, hey, right out the gate, this is a commission only job. The fact they went out on a limb to do that, majority of our guys, by the way,
it's not commission only anymore.
No, it's not. Yeah, we can definitely talk.
Thanks, DOJ.
Man,
just everybody up in every organization. Yeah.
But yeah, so like the fact they took that little bit of a risk on us, they come in, they've been loyal since day one. ADD kicked in, not real sure where we got started on this, but what got us started on this? We were talking about money.
We were talking about how, money, and then I said it's really not money for me anymore. It's a scorecard, and then it's also now opening up opportunities for other, and that's one of my biggest highs. And you were saying that's the same for you.
About the promotion and everything else. So one of the guys that just got promoted, and I'm not going to talk about his finances too much either, but he was making $50,000 a year when he come over to us, and he's far exceeded that this year. He told me.
Is it the short guy with the big ears?
It is.
Yeah. That dude's going to make 6 figures this year.
Absolutely.
And let me tell you this, for all you young people out there who are like, well, there's no money to be made here in Monroe, Louisiana. He is 22. Yeah.
3.
I know he can barely drink. That's all I know. So
he barely graduated high school a couple years ago.
Yeah. And this guy is brand new to sales, but he got in the model, got in the system. He has absolutely studied your every move.
Yeah.
And
very persistent.
He's persistent. He wants to learn. He's out. He's gonna make 6 figures at 22, 23 years old. I think it's just a testament to hooking up with the right team, getting in the right system, and playing all in.
Yeah. But one of the happiest days, where I was going with this, one of the happiest days I've had with Lilly Roofing since we started it was the day he actually come up to me. I do financial and mental health checks basically on all our guys every so often. And my reminder come up, and I was like, hey, I haven't talked to in like probably about 3 weeks
now. Name already, man. Good job.
There it is.
Bleep that out, please.
Yeah,
yeah.
please.
Thank you.
Just restart that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was like, man, I haven't checked in on this guy in a few weeks. I need to call him, and I called him. I was like, man, hey, how's everything going? He said, dude, last week, can I just be completely frank with you? He said, I was starting to lose faith because, you have that like initial little slow period when you're
3 to 6 months in sales. It's a tough time.
It's tough, man.
Yeah.
And he hadn't even reached 6 months. I mean, this guy's going on month 2, but again, he's coming from a structure where he was making a salary, and he come in and he's like, man, can I just be honest with you? He said, Daniel, I made more last week than I used to make in a month. He said, and this has been for the past 2 weeks straight because we pay weekly, and he had 2 weeks worth of checks that were basically equivalent to what he made monthly at his old job. And he said,
so he made in 2 weeks what he made in 2 months.
Yeah. And he's like, I don't even know what to do with myself, man.
This dude went and prepaid his rent.
He prepaid his rent.
What the hell?
Dude, and sorry we're making fun of you, bro, but it's an awesome thing. Like, yeah, he called me. He's like, man, I paid my rent up
from
4 months.
Any day of the week.
I was like, dude, you're the best tenant in the world. Like,
yeah.
Can you imagine his landlord at the time? He's like, hey, man, I just want to go ahead and pay up my rent for 4 months. I was like, dude, that is insane. But
I may would have tried to negotiate or something.
Hey, if I pay 4 months of rent right now, can I get a discount?
Can I $200 off or something? I don't know. But yeah, no, dude, it's life changing that we get to do that. And so that kind of leads us into the next topic here. And it's, recruiting is important, but when you find people that are worth having in your organization, how do you keep them?
Oh yeah. Oh man. Retention is such a big deal. Culture keeps people. At the end of the day, I think leadership does for sure.
I hate that word.
What? Culture. Okay, yeah.
So that word has been ran in the freaking ground in real estate, specifically by a company.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude, that's all they talk about. Our culture. Okay.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah, I'm not allowed to talk about this on
I feel
camera.
like I hear you talk about culture a lot.
I don't use that word, though. I try to use other words, synonymous words.
And our beliefs.
When I go culture, I'm like, culture.
Yeah. But dude, so in our world, culture is still a great word because it doesn't exist. I feel like most construction companies lack. I'm not saying all. There's some really good ones here in this area that are phenomenal about it. But
I think it's the general perception. You can't spell contractor without con.
Yeah. And then you have sales everywhere. So sales is based around all of our construction industry as well as everything else, obviously. But
most construction companies are just professional sales organizations.
Yeah, and it's a revolving door of salespeople.
Yeah.
So to talk about retention, I think what I've learned works best for retention is whenever we have proper systems, our systems are well defined, and everybody goes by those systems. You know, and it doesn't always happen.
Consistency is so important.
It is. It doesn't always happen, but having the conversations when it's not happening, and ultimately having those coaching sessions, our Friday meetings often have turned into complete just demonstrations of how to go through and enter notes in our CRM, you know, our customer relations management system. And so we've went through entire meetings where we're sitting there and we're like, hey, guys, I know we've kind of talked about this and this SOP seems like it's kind of floating around. This is what this SOP means. But having those, I've learned, has been easier to keep the winners in an organization because they're willing to adopt those. And you know, they might skirt around the edges on some of them, but for the most part, having a strict SOP is the only thing in sales that creates consistency. In corporate world, it's there every day, and we don't really think about it. But in
Why do you think
sales,
these big organizations, they got bigger buildings than us, which should be a clue.
big buildings.
Yeah, but it's also the longevity of these companies and their profits and all these things. Why do you think they're able to scale at that level? It's because everything is a system. And people get so upset about that because everybody wants to reinvent the wheel. Everybody wants to do it their own way. But when you find somebody who's being successful, you shut the up, sit down, and pay attention.
Yeah.
Take
notes.
Yeah, that's it. Man, I don't get jealous when I walk up to somebody who sells more houses than me or who's. And I went to a real estate conference the other day, and statistically speaking, no one has ever taken more listings than me, year over year, ever in the history of Northeast Louisiana. And we were in Michigan, and this guy was doing his listing presentation, and I was like, kind of like two of the things he did up there. I think I may change my system a little bit.
Yeah.
Because success leaves clues, man. You can't be so full of yourself that you're not willing to change the way that you do things. I said this to somebody the other day. I was having a difference of opinions inside of one of the companies. And It was very simply this, and people are not going to like what I had to say here. I am 100% about to get roasted on TikTok. And I said, who in this conversation is smarter? And he paused because he didn't want to say that he was smarter than me, but I already know he is. Dude's way smarter than me. And I said, okay. I said, that's a fair, like the answer is this, and that's fair because it's true. I said, who makes more money in this conversation? And he paused and I went, dude, I'm not saying that to be mean. You're smarter than me. You're more educated than me. You have more privilege than me. You've got more money than me just because you were born. And yet, who's the one growing something? And who's the one having the other conversation here? I said, if you would quit thinking that you can reinvent every single little thing because you're smart and just do the basics. Vince Lombardi, this is a football gentleman. And then just do the basics, do the fundamentals. When you master it, then you can go, hey, let me apply my knowledge to mastery. Yeah. And now we're exercising wisdom. But before then, sit down, shut up, take notes, and just run the course, run the playbook.
And constantly take notes, right? So like, I think a lot of people, they find these playbooks and stuff writing on the wall, and they actually do take notes initially. But then to your point where you're talking about, you're at the conference, like you have a very successful real estate business and you're taking notes. You're sitting there like, hey, look, I know it's somewhere. It doesn't matter how good you are.
Yeah, I'm qualified to be on the same stage on the microphone with this cat. But instead of going, oh, I'm Harrison Lilly, right? I'm going, hey, this guy is successful in a whole different market. Maybe he knows something I don't know. I bet he has something to tell me, and he did.
Yeah, you just got to listen, man. Like that is an awesome point. I'm telling you, one of the biggest things I've learned is constant growth, and because we get these playbooks initially and we think they're the one source all, and we just go with it and we don't add to that playbook. So our company just stops at some point, and other people are constantly taking notes on our playbook, right? Yeah. So they're catching up and they're closing the gap. And we're just sitting there in static mode, you know. So.
Yeah. Well, and you can never sit still. You must always, once you get into mastery, once you have established that 3 to 5 year business, you have to start looking into scalability and what your playbook moving forward is. Somebody said the other day, they're like, Harrison, we're not getting turned in at the board as much. And I said, that's because we're not winning enough. The day people quit complaining on you, the day people quit suing you, the day people quit turning you into the board or to the LREC or to the contractors board in your case, is the day nobody's jealous of you anymore. What does that tell you about what's going on with your success? You're stagnant or decreasing because they're catching up. People are paying attention to winners and they're taking notes. And there's nothing that I can do that is so monumental that they'll never be able to catch me.
Right.
You know, but there's 2 or 3 people in the real estate business that they haven't caught me yet. And they're not going to, because I'm cognizant of that they're getting closer.
They're constantly there.
But they're getting closer, and that's telling me that I got to get my fat ass into gear. So, yeah, retention is super important. What else do we got today, Daniel?
So, dude, let's talk about scaling a little bit more, because that is exciting. That is very different for us. We've covered it a little bit, but I'm excited about, getting into this new market, kind of seeing what it kind of entails. But most importantly, and we've talked about this through recruiting, but like it's already opening up the door to more opportunities because it's opening the door to more who's in our organization. So when we're going into the Shreveport market, there is 3 candidates out of those 7 I mentioned earlier that are all...
Like 7 are hireable, but 3 are game changers, right?
3 are like, honestly, could run the company one day. And like, it's just insane to think about that. Like, it's insane to think about, one of which is younger than me. Okay, and this is one of the ones I'm most excited about.
Likely better looking.
Probably, yeah. I mean, I'm not hard to beat in that regard. I'm also at the bottom 3 of the organization in that. But yeah, no. So like, we're sitting here recruiting, and like, there's one that has general construction, like commercial construction knowledge that far exceeds mine. Yeah, and I've been looking for that so hard. So little plug right here for recruitment. But we're looking for a commercial guy. We're looking for a commercial guy that understands the business better than I do on the commercial side, because I can only learn so much while I'm also trying to scale these other guys inside our organization. Yeah. And one of these people actually have those qualities. And I'm like sitting there and I'm just getting kind of excited, trying to interview. I'm trying to stay level, like not the...
Because commercial is one of the when we talked as an ownership group, we said we have 2 options here. We either go all in on commercial or we stay specialized in residential and we expand. Right. Now, because we have our who's, and like we have Daniel as an operating partner who can go in between the two markets and recruit and retain, because that's your role with us.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, we already have the who, so let's execute who we already have the who. And we also ran numbers, and it just made more sense.
Right.
But that is absolutely, like, if we ever find the right who on commercial, then
it becomes easy.
Yeah, it's a moonshot at that point.
Yeah, and I think easy is one of the phrases that also, like, or one of those words rather, that also gets overused. But it is easy when you got the right people. So like, if I have the commercial guy and I know I can just go ask him something, I need to understand a general knowledge of what it is we're conversating about. But for the most part, man, I trust your expertise. You know, we've got people in our organization, like Jamie, for instance. Jamie would kill me if I sat there and took a test level for level on like QuickBooks or, you know, any of the
wasting your time
systems. Yeah. But like, I go to her and I ask directly. I'm like, Jamie, hey, like, how do I need to do this? And I ask her for advice just as much as she asks me. And so for commercial, I mean, I'm looking for somebody to make it easy. You know, same for scaling. Like if we run across a candidate who's like, yeah, I opened up 3 different branches for, you know, car lots or whatever the case may be.
Maybe you might be our expansion partner.
Exactly. You know, like there's other places I find people all the time when we're giving interviews and they're starting to talk about their strengths and stuff. And like, my mind just wonders. I'm like, man, what could I do? Like, if you were on our team, like, what, you know, like, you're a game changer. Like, but it's not even for what we're interviewing you for.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, and that's, Ben Kinney said, number 1 agent in North America, something like that.
Not even a real estate guy. I love that dude.
Yeah. But I mean, it's always about building a bench. Like, we're always recruiting. Like, people call us all the time, like, hey, do y'all have any job openings? Like, no, but we'd love to interview you. Like, what? Like, well, what if we interview you when we find out that, like, we have one? we have an opportunity, like, because there's companies that we've considered opening. There's, like, I mean, you and I both know, like, we don't own a HVAC company right now, but we are absolutely ready to launch one. And the right person walks in our world, we're making the offer that day. That's set in stone. And so why not interview everybody, build a bench, and go, hey, we now have an opportunity for you. We're just doing callbacks. You were an excellent candidate. We want you back. So always recruiting and always being open to those conversations is just the best way to grow your organization quickly.
Yeah. And in regard to the HVAC company, right? So we have people in our organization, and not just necessarily HVAC, but we have people in our organization that are skilled, and believe me, I have it in notes basically on what they're most skilled at, and pretty much on where my blind spots are, and I've taken notes on them and basically been like, hey, this is something they could help me with. So whenever I get ready for that, you know, or whenever we're, for instance, scaling, we've got a certain process that I'm kind of working on over there. And one of these guys used to be a branch manager at a location. And I'm like, hey, I'm definitely going to reach out to him and ask him how they managed between these 2 branches and what their CRM kind of looked like, you know? So I take notes on all of those things. So even if we don't have that spot and we do make a hire, you know, they're my subject matter expert in regards to that. So we don't always pass on the candidates. You know, sometimes they're a good fit for what we need them for right now. But there's also a lot of scalability with that particular candidate that we just don't think about, you know? So
yeah. Inside of expansion, what is the thing that you are most looking forward to in expansion?
Man, I think it's just servicing different clients. Like, not just from an economical standpoint, like we talked about earlier, like it gets easier when clients are, you know, not trying to get around deductibles and break the law in that regard. It gets easier because even though we're trying to do the right thing by not waiving deductibles like other people in the market might be doing, you know, those things make us the bad guy in those people's eyes, you know? So
why can't you do something that somebody else can?
Right. Yeah. And so I'm excited about opening up the opportunity to new people. I'm also really excited about, you know, again, the personnel is one of the big things. There's a lot of things I'm excited about, but the personnel is another massive one, because just like I said, looking through resumes, you're like, these are people that built and tailored their resume for construction or sales generally. These are not people that are going through Indeed and just clicking quick apply, and they're applying, you know, for anything they can get.
Yeah.
But also, man, like, I think another really cool thing about this. So for those of you that don't know, I don't know who all watches or where y'all's kind of, I'm assuming y'all have people out of state as well. But for those of you that don't know, Shreveport and Bossier is an hour and 10-minute drive from us. Okay. So we have full intention on scaling, beyond that, and vice versa, ultimately growing this thing, beyond this and next steps and everything else down the road. But I'm most excited about the fact that we get to test our systems and processes on a level we haven't gotten to ever do that. We have our playbooks, we have systems and processes, but when we hire people and we implement those SOPs and stuff, we're almost like over their shoulder.
Yeah.
We have people right there holding their hand through the systems and processes. Going into this new market, it's not necessarily like that. Yes, I'm going to be over there all the time, but going into this new market, we're giving them the SOPs and we're going to actually see where the weaknesses are. So hopefully our next scale and our next expansion comes quicker because we're able to perfect these processes. But ultimately, I'm really excited to see where our weaknesses are, because if it doesn't work or if it has a weak point, we're going to see it quicker over there, and we can update that not only for that branch, but we can train on this branch. So that way, as we get pulled from side to side, because, as owners, we have to jump from team to team and everything else. But as we get pulled from team to team, Shreveport and West Monroe and Monroe, we also get to say, hey, look, I know now that we've updated that Monroe is going to be successful, because they're not going to have to call me and ask me exactly for this, this, and this. And I know now that this is in the training, like in our digital training course, I know that it's covered. We don't have to go back over it with every employee. So I'm really excited about finding the weak spots in our SOPs, because I know they exist.
Yeah. So do you know what the 2 qualifications for something to become a system are?
Not a clue.
All right, here we go. In order to create a system that works, they have to check these 2 boxes. They have to be both replicatable and expandable.
Gotcha.
Right? And so, and just think about McDonald's. If you go to McDonald's in New York and you go to McDonald's in California and you order a Big Mac, what are you going to get?
Big Mac. Exact same thing.
The same meat, the same cheese, from the same factory, from the same bread company, from the same process. The SOP is absolutely the same. It was replicatable, which means that, Daniel, you and I have different personality profiles, correct?
Very different, yeah.
Do you think that we deliver things correctly? I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Do you think we deliver things the same?
Oh, no.
If you and I were to go present right now,
very different.
We would go about it differently, because we have 2 different sales tactics.
Right.
But we're not inside the company, so you write your SOPs, I write mine. But
yeah.
But it would have to be replicatable in the sense that you can take your personality and you can take Connor's personality, and y'all can both deliver the same message effectively. That's replicatable. Yep. All right. Expandable is culturally. Does it work in every area? Are you going to sell to somebody in Monroe like you sell them in New York?
Oh, very different. Yeah.
But you have to write an SOP that creates that experience.
Right.
Your systems that you create for Shreveport and Monroe have to be both replicatable and expandable. So do we have that?
Not yet.
Hope so.
But that's the thing. So I can say not yet, because, again, I know that there's weaknesses in that.
Yeah.
And that I've kind of looked at it from that perspective, and I'm like, I know there's going to be things kind of that we have to fix, and we're going to have to fix them quickly.
Yeah.
We can't sit there and let them get out of hand before we step in.
Yeah, we have to evolve quickly.
Yeah. And so, again, I can say that, no, I don't, I would love to think our system's perfect, and it is great. It's a great system, and I know it would work. I know like Shreveport and Bossier is set up for success. But it's all about how fast we can identify those weak points, and we can actually fix it, reinforce our walls.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Good will never be good enough. And good is the enemy of great.
Great. Dude, quotes after quotes.
Yeah, well, that's all I got. All right. So, before we part ways today, Daniel, you do a lot of hiring. In fact, I'd say that's probably one of, if we had to write down your 20%,
I would say hiring and training Salesforce, coaching Salesforce, because I work on that daily. But yeah, hiring is probably our biggest thing. Hiring and retention also. So
yeah. So let's break it down into hiring first. What are the top 3 things you look at inside a candidate that is going to come work inside your organization?
So I just started doing this recently, so this is pretty cool. I've been asking candidates to kind of define what their ideal role, or define the role that I'm interviewing for. So sales is a big role.
So you're making sure that they have an understanding of the role?
Basic understanding. But define what a proper successful sales, or define a proper successful sales candidate to me, kind of have them define what they think my ideal of a sales candidate is. So one, yes, I see if their understanding is basic. You know, I understand like that you at least know you have to lead generate every day.
Yeah.
You know, and so I kind of look for things like that. But I think number two, as long as they have a basic understanding of that, is I look for somebody that's coachable. You know, I don't want somebody who's worked under one system for 15 years. Yeah, that's great. You know, awesome. You've had, you know, that employment, but that will ruin a person. I've seen salespeople come in.
Especially if it wasn't a winning system.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen it from a kind of a corporate retail style standpoint, if you will. And I interviewed this guy, and I was like, man, he has all the potential and everything else, but he was so used to just having that one system and being told exactly what to do every day that his creativity almost faded over time. So I look for if they're coachable, you know, and I asked them, you know, I mean, flat out ask them, like, how coachable are you? Describe a moment, you know, where you adopted a new system or you developed a new system and you kind of worked with someone else to kind of perfect that system.
Yeah.
I think 3 on what I look for the most in salespeople, you know, as well as office administrative, is, you know, while I'm interviewing them, their personalities may be very different. Like you said, Rux and Amanda, you know, but ultimately, like, have you ever had anything where you've been persistent, you know, in it? One thing I could say that Chris, and I don't know Amanda's background so much, you know, you might be able to fill in the gap here, but Chris has genuinely been in shape as long as I can remember him. You know, he's been pretty consistent and persistent with that. You know, it's not something he really just kind of throws to the back burner. Is like, hey, I'm going to get fat like Daniel today. You know, like he doesn't do that.
Yeah, he stayed skinnier and in better shape than me and you put together.
So I look for, like, have you had anything where you've actually built some kind of level of persistence or consistency? When I interview a client talking about physical fitness and stuff, not a client, a sales associate or something like that, and I see that they're disciplined in the way they either dress or the way they actually maintain their body, it puts a different level of perception for me. For one, it's not about like, oh man, this person looks so much better than everybody else I interviewed today.
Yeah.
But this person actually cares about what they threw on today.
It's about the behavior.
Yeah. And there's a level of discipline and consistency that comes with either of those things. Like if somebody shows up for an interview, you know, and they're just dressed, and I've had this, you know, AC/DC or Van Halen shirt. Dude, love the bands, bro, but like,
is this really the appropriate place?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you knew it was a Zoom interview. We do a lot of virtual interviews and stuff. It's a way I found that saves me the most time. And we're adding new steps to our interview process every day.
All you had to do was put on a decent shirt and sit your ass down so I couldn't see anything else.
You don't even have to wear pants, you know? Not condoning that, please.
It's the pantless interviews with Daniel Gilly.
Just don't forget to not stand up, you know? Like, remember to not stand up. But yeah, no, like you didn't have to do much, you know. But one of the candidates
of this podcast is pantless interviews.
Pantless interviews.
Yes.
We've already got it.
Sorry,
but yeah, no, like one of the candidates I had in Shreveport, you know, I might have mentioned like super professional dress, but also picked a perfect backdrop, you know, and that's not something that I really
you think like, hey, they really put some time into this.
They did. Like the lighting, the backdrop, everything was like perfect. And I'm not saying every candidate has to do that, but like, the presentation you put on in your interviews and stuff like that impact not only my way of thinking about you, but it also lets me know that if I do coach you on something, you're probably going to follow through with it because you have some level of discipline to say, hey, look, this is what I think the standard is. And that's another thing, right? Standards, they have standards.
Yeah.
But this is what I think the standard is. And when I interview people that actually look like they have a very high expectation of our standard, those are the people I'm hiring every time.
Yeah.
That particular person, right? Yeah. Backdrop and everything. I'm like, her standards must have been so high of us that she believed this was what we were expecting.
Yeah.
She's here. I felt underdressed. And I was like, and dude, I had a nice polo and everything else, you know, but I was just like, wow, man, like our standards should be here.
I got outdid on my own interview.
Yeah. Our standards should be here. And I love that. And again, bringing that into the culture.
Yeah. And here's a perspective too. You know, in the interview, you're getting the best of them.
Yeah.
You're getting the best that they have, or you should be. You should be getting the best they have to offer. Well, guys, just like in any relationship, any marriage, any friendship, what do we do up front?
Oh, yeah. We put on our best face.
We try to impress people.
Sleep well.
That's right. And so you know that once they get comfortable and once that relationship is there, that you're not going to see the same version of that person. That level's going to go to here. Yeah. So if you're already getting here talent, you just go in and know you got floor talent.
Yeah.
You don't have ceiling talent, you have floor talent. And so the way somebody shows up with you for the first time is likely not going to be the way they show up in 6 months. So you need to make sure that bar is set high up front.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's an awesome point.
Yeah. Here is something that I look for. I've heard this on a few podcasts. I've read it in a few books. But people who have overcome adversity. One of my favorite questions to ask is, Daniel, tell me something about yourself on a time where you went through something really hard, and I want to know the process and the steps you took to overcome that and what your outcome was. Because I want to hear about the single mom whose husband left her and she had nothing, and how she said, you know what, this, I'm not going to live a mediocre life for my children.
Yeah.
I want to deal with the guy whose parents abandoned him, and he said, I want more out of my life. I don't want to be that person either. I'm never going to abandon my children, and I'm going to work my ass off and make sure they have a awesome life. Like, those are the kind of people that I would want to invest in because they have a chip on their shoulder. And dude, you want to know how to get me to work? Piss me off, challenge me, put a chip on my shoulder.
Yeah.
And I like to be in business with people like that because they're willing to go out and kill so that they can eat.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah. So some guy once said, I can't exactly, I'm going to paraphrase here, but they were basically talking about, I don't have the perfect quotes like you. I hate that. You memorize all these quotes and everything from books.
Read more.
Yeah, I do. I read so much, but I don't memorize quotes. But I had it actually. I heard this before, and a guy was talking about how heartbreak is like one of the number one motivation factors, and it is. You put a chip on somebody's shoulder, or you break their heart, dude. Like, immediately they're in performance 2.0. They step up a notch. But yeah, like I love that. I love the adversity part of that interview, and I couldn't agree more, man. Especially in sales, like I think we don't think about that enough. But the first 3 to 6 months, we've talked about
sales
it 3
is
times.
Nothing but adversity.
Yeah, we've talked about the first 3 to 6 months 3 times here. Just in this one little setting. But like, think about that. Like, our first 3 to 6 months, we know we got our teeth kicked in. We know we took every hit possible.
Awful. If you don't know my story, I went broke. I had $500 in my checking account, and my rent was $800.
Yeah.
I was this close to having to ask my parents to help me pay my rent, and I went and got a job at Nukes. And guys, like, I want y'all to know that today I am way more humble than I used to be. Like, it's crazy. Like, my status is elevated, and yet I'm more humble and willing to do anything if that's what I have to do to provide for my family. But it hurt my pride to go from Monroe's bartender making $150K cash a year, which is a lot like $225 realistically, right? And living a great life to having to go, would you like extra meat on your sandwich? Would you like a drink? Like that.
All because you went and got a big boy job.
Right. Yeah. Because I decided I was going to do better for myself. Right. And the first 8 months of real estate did kick my teeth in. I lost everything. I went from 6 figures in my bank account to $500, and had Don O'Toole not stuck his neck out for me to get me a job at Nukes, I don't know what I would have done. Right. I truly don't know what I would have done.
Could have changed all this for sure.
Oh yeah. Because I was in desperation mode, and that Harrison was not a very good person, and so that person was willing to do anything to make money. So. Yeah, I mean, you just imagine that, right?
Yeah, right.
And you know
all the proper contacts too.
Me and
your
Daniel,
life could have went so south.
Yeah, me and Daniel know each other from a prior life.
we do, man, and I'm proud that we're that I've seen so much growth. But like, it's
I feel like
crazy.
we're killing it. Yeah,
it's crazy to think like back, just back in the, I'm not going to say a lot because I don't want to go to jail. I don't know how much I can incriminate myself in one setting.
Keep me out of your incrimination, please.
Yeah, right. So, like, it's just crazy to think back, 2012 years and 2010 and stuff like that, where we were to now. I think the realization of that, too, was before I was a client of yours as well, and because I called, we used to work together, and I was like, hey, man, I'm looking to buy a house back in, like, 2018.
Yeah.
And
I was so proud of you during that conversation.
Well, during that, like you actually said, hey man, I'm proud of you, dude. Look forward to helping you out. But then also you called me like maybe, man, I think it was like a year later. I probably was on a reminder of yours, and you called and was like, hey, it's Veterans Day or Memorial Day, and I just want to call and tell you, I appreciate your service and thank you for everything. And when you said that, I was like, dude, we have changed and grown so much. Go us, right? Like, I was like,
well, actually, I remember that phone call, and it was so weird because it's so weird for me to be any kind of vulnerable with you, because me and Daniel worked together in bars. Like, he was a bouncer, I was a bartender. We've seen each other just not be great people in the past. So for
terrible.
Yeah, I wasn't going to use that word, but that's fair.
Terrible. Let's call it as it is.
Yeah. A spade's a spade, right? And like it was a weird. It's weird to treat people that especially
yeah,
like that. And but anyway, I made the phone call anyway, and I hope it meant something to you, because
it did. It really with me to this day.
Yeah, I really did mean thank you, and I meant everything that I said in that call. And yet it was a lot easier to call my other 30 veteran clients than it was you.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, he's gonna think this is so cheesy,
This dude's judging me right now.
Yeah. But that's sales, though. That's making the phone calls you don't want to make to get results that no one else is going to get.
It is, and you never know what's going to stick with somebody. Like I said, like that was something that, that's 2019. I've had a lot of drinks since then and everything else, but
so I can actually tell you where I was when I made the phone call.
I remember where I was when I got it.
I think I was doing a 75 hard, and I was, which by the way, I'm thinking about rolling on.
Did you complete it?
Huh?
Did you complete it?
Day 74 at night, I had a drink.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, I feel like it was borderline complete. I read, I drank water.
Almost midnight.
I did 2 workouts, and I had a shitty day, man. And I was like, you know what? I feel like I made this. I think I'm actually about to roll out an organization-wide 75 hard.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think it'd be good. But I was walking down the road at my first workout of the day. I was on Bellevue, and that's where I called you from.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Imagine that, Harrison walking and on the phone. Those of you that don't know, he is like 90% of the time, if you go by their office, he's walking down the street. I'm hoping I'll get you jumped for saying that. The wrong person's
I'm not homeless. I just need my ADD demands that I pace.
I just know so many people. People are like, in Monroe, you see walking down the street, you're like, oh God, this guy's about to ask me for money, and then you realize it's Harrison, and he's just walking around 18 city blocks.
I do not carry cash, so you're not going to get anything.
No cash. Yeah. But yeah, he adopted our office as a travel route the other day. Jamie was like, she called me and she's like, oh, hey, what, did you know Harrison's here? I was like, no, why are you calling me like panic mode about this? She's like,
oh, that's what I was going to meet with the cops. Yeah.
We were meeting with the cops, and she's like, he's here right now. And I was like, why do you sound so panicked and afraid?
Because she's like pacing the office.
I didn't know anybody was here, and where he parked, he was out of the camera, and we just got our camera system installed, and you were like walking around, and she just saw somebody walk, and she called a corner, and she was like, whatever, because people walk through there all the time. Mm-hmm. Then she seen it again, and she noticed the same color shirt, and she's like, and it was sleeveless shirt, so like,
I had just got done working out, man.
All get out. Anybody with sleeveless shirt, I can't trust them. I watched that one episode of the podcast. I took 2 weeks off. But
yeah, Daniel, like whenever we talked about the podcast today, he said, wear sleeves, please.
Just wear sleeves, bro. It's too distracting. But yeah, no, he walked by the office window like 3 times before she like finally called me.
It wasn't 3, it was 100. Yeah, I was out there for an hour and a half.
Dude, but when she called me, you had been by it like 3 times, and then as I picked up, she said she seen you on the camera and realized who it was, and was like, oh, did you know Harrison was here? So she was still in a panic from it, but she was like, dude,
she thought somebody was casing the place.
Yeah, she did. Jesus. She was like so confused. She's like, I thought somebody was walking by looking for an opening.
Next time I'm gonna run upstairs and just beat on the door. Yeah, we'll run away.
Could have just opened the door, and she'd have like pure panic attack.
Yeah. But anyway, guys, I think that is that's good for the day.
Yeah.
Oh, you actually you got
we're about to be rolling. I got baseball. So
yeah, Daniel is he's an adult that still plays baseball.
It's called Bush League. It has a whole definition,
Okay.
But yeah, so like we are adult baseballers. We've got old school people and everybody else involved. But it's a good time, man. It gives me a reason to be active. I haven't been active in the past few years, and I think that's my one.
Do y'all sit in bleachers or wheelchairs?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends. Cool. Some of us have got those walker chairs that you can use, in case you want to take a bathroom break.
Oh, is that like allowed on the field? Like,
dude, everything goes.
Everything goes.
If you show up with a glove, people are impressed. They're like, this guy is legit.
He's prepared.
Yeah, this guy's legit. He's not borrowing my bat this week.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. So
This guy's got serious. He
it's
bought a
not
bat.
hard.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, guys. Hey, we appreciate y'all for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed everything with us. For those of you that don't know, THLT Realty, Parish Protection Agency, Lilly Roofing, we are all recruiting. We're all always open to a conversation. And we're also open to growth. So if you have any business ideas, we buy businesses, we buy houses, we do all those things. So if y'all have a need, we have a solution. We love y'all. Thank you for watching. Let's go.
Let's go.